Yo, what's poppin'? People, your boy Snacks is back in the building with another banger. And you know how we do before we get started. You know what we like to do. We like to salute you, the people, for taking the time out and watching this video. So while you're here, can you do us a favor and hit that like button, hit the subscribe button? We should be at 20K by now. I don't even know what y'all waiting on. 500 away from 20K. I'm sure we can do that today. But y'all know what we do before we do anything. We shout out the CU aunties. And as always, when you see the CU aunties in the live chat or in the comment section, make sure you pay them some respect. Also speak and say what's up. Because if you get out of line, the CU aunties got it. They got that security. They got that heat. They carry that weight. So you better not get caught up out here in these streets acting up. But them CU aunties will bust your head when it come to messing with their nephews. Down to the brass tacks of it all. And let's get to business. Welcome to the lunch. Shadur Sanders on yesterday had a great freaking day of practice. You know, he just does his thing, does all the things right. But yesterday, we had an upsetting event as the owner of the Cleveland Browns, Jimmy Haslem, and his wife have been in Berea all week. On Monday, when Shedeur went 9 for 9 and had that perfect day of practice, guess who was on the sidelines? Guess who was standing there watching? Jimmy Haslem, his wife Dee, General Manager Andrew Berry, head coach. All standing there watching Shedeur show completely out and do his thing. But yet and still, on Tuesday, the owner, Jimmy Haslem, had a press conference. And in that press conference, he was asked about drafting Shedeur. He was asked if it was his idea. And you know that question was only proposed by one Tony Grossi. Tony Grossi said, look, I just went all the way in. First question off the rip, just here you go. And Jimmy Haslam response, oh my God. After Shedeur puts on a 9 for 9 performance, the very next day, the very same owner, Jimmy Haslam, steps out and says this.
I think that's really more of an Andrew question, okay? But I think, what was that pick, 146? We thought he was good value at 146. At the end of the day, that's Andrew Berry's call. Andrew made the call to pick Shedeur. And I know everybody has a vision of Shedeur, but he's come in the building and worked hard, kept his head down, and done what he's supposed to do, as has Dylan. Those are hard decisions. Listen, Travis Hunter is a special football player, and I do think he can play both ways, and I think he'll do well. He's also a great kid. I mean, not a good, but a great kid. So we were locked in on that, and then the opportunity came up. Time will tell whether we did the right thing or not.
Now, that was the edited version. The unedited version.
If you'd have told me, so you picked him on Saturday, right? Friday night driving home, y'all are going to pick Shedeur, I would say that's not happening. But we had a conversation early that morning, and then we had a conversation later that day. I think we had the right people involved in the conversation. At the end of the day, that's Andrew Berry's call. Andrew made the call to pick Shedeur. Just like who's going to start or what play we're going to call is Kevin's call. But that's Andrew's call. He made the call.
Now, if you asked me on Friday during draft day while I was on my way home if we was going to pick Shedeur, I would have told you no. But then again, on Saturday morning, they had a meeting. They talked about it. And yet still, he said that was Andrew Berry's pick when we all know that was Jimmy Haslam's pick. You want to admit Deshaun Watson was your pick. We know Johnny Manziel was your pick. Now, Shadur Sanders, you want nothing to do with that. But our guy, who always stands on business, Louis Riddick had something to say about that. But that wasn't your pick when you got kids waiting on him like this. But you have no other players where kids are acting like that. You've seen the sessions. We've seen that you have Shedeur's merchandise front and center. Shedeur has his own section. Shedeur has his own section in the Cleveland Browns freaking website. A whole section dedicated to Shadur Sanders and his own merchandise. This is what we doing. But this is the player that you didn't want. You did not want Shadur Sanders, remember? But yet and still, you making all this money off Shadur Sanders. You selling this merch. You selling your merch. He's front and center, the face of everything you got. You got the best defensive player in the NFL on your team. But yet and still, Shadur Sanders is front and center. Front and center of your website and everything you doing trying to sell. Make it make sense. But Louis Riddick had something to say because he don't like what Andrew Berry had to say.
That's not happening because he didn't think Shedeur would be available? Or is he saying that's not happening because we didn't want to take him?
He's not saying that because he didn't think Shedeur was going to be available. That's not what he's saying. He's saying that because in my opinion, they're saying that because he's sitting there saying, look, they didn't really have him ranked that high. They didn't think they were going to draft. I don't know who ultimately pulls the trigger on this. Here's the bigger issue. I don't even really care why he said what he said. This is what it tells me, though. What it tells me is that this young man is ice skating uphill. That's what it tells me. Because they are not in lockstep as far as how they view him within that organization. Why else would you come out and say, as I was driving home on Friday night, if you would have told me we were going to draft Shadur Sanders on Saturday, I would have said, that ain't happening. What that means is there's enough people at the top of the totem pole who are like, nah, he's not for us. Simple as that. And then he went on to say, we had the right people in the room. We had a meeting about it Saturday, and we had the right people in the room, and ultimately Andrew picked the player. I mean, what the hell?
Why are you saying that right now? He's on the team.
Exactly. So if you're Shadur Sanders, and you're sitting wherever you're sitting in the dorm rooms in Berea, like that I slept in when I played for the Browns too during training camp, and you're watching or you're watching the news, and you're seeing the owners sit there and go, no, well, as of Friday night, they weren't even thinking about me. And then they had a meeting, and the right people were in there, and they wound up drafting me. I'm sitting here going, man, am I really at the right place here? Do I have people that are all rooting for me that want to make this competition here really fair and equitable? They want to make it an organic competition, or there are ultimately going to be some people who are saying, I didn't want this guy. And so they're not going to support me in those personnel meetings that I was a part of for 8-9 years. And I know how people can get personal with those things in those meetings. This was not a real good interview in my estimation because it doesn't help the player at all. And quite honestly, it doesn't help the opinions that we have about how Cleveland goes about doing business. It doesn't at all to me.
And that's correct. Shadur Sanders is fighting an uphill battle. When ownership openly admits that, hey, we didn't want him here. When your GM looks like the kids stole his lunch money when you are drafted, Something's wrong when you proven over and over and over again on the field that you deserve first team reps and you haven't gotten them. When you constantly outperform each one of your teammates on the daily, and you still haven't gotten the reps that you deserve because the head coach and the GM drafted a quarterback in front of you, and they're trying to prove the point that he is better than you, which they are fighting a losing battle that you will always win, but they will never admit that you won. How do you get ahead? Even in the preseason games, when you go out and shine and do what you're going to do, they still don't have to play you. No matter how loud the fans scream, no matter how much the media writes about it, no matter how many videos are put on the internet that says Shadur Sanders is better than Dylan Gabriel, Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, they don't move. They don't budge. So what do? You stay fly. You stay prayed up. And you let God do what he's going to do. Because once again today, the Cleveland Browns lost another player to injury. And they are, like Whoopi said, until you do right by Shedeur. Yeah. They don't get right. They aren't going to get right. But it is what it is, man. We gonna get out of here, y'all. Make sure y'all hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We trying to get to this 20K. Let's just make that the first milestone. Go on, and we are like 450 away. Go ahead and subscribe up, everybody. Do your doggone thing. Let's get 20K today, and we gonna be in the house. You know what I'm saying? But I'm out of here, man. Y'all have a wonderful day, and we gonna holler at you. Peace.